All right, we're live. Today's unusual timing. It's only 6 p.m. my time, but gonna knock out an early one. Only go for a couple hours, and then at the most, and then I'm gonna have dinner afterwards. That was the freezer in the background. Those of you that have been here before have probably heard it before. Cool. All right. This may wind up being one for the VOD crew more than anything. I don't know if anybody's going to show up for the stream. So, VOD folks, I apologize. I just got July 1st up. I just posted it right before I started this because I was like, if I don't do it right away, I probably won't do it afterwards. And there's no reason for you to have to wait another day. I should have done it over the weekend. So the VOD is up for you guys, and the July 4th one will go up like tomorrow, Wednesday. It's funny because I always try to time like don't post a VOD the same night that I'm streaming, but the VOD folks are watching the VODs and the stream folks are watching streams. I don't think it matters. Hey Matthias, Sarinth. What's going on? My friend Justin Beard, Rev Chumley, howdy. Rev Chumley? You got the verified mark. Has that always been there? Have you always been verified? I think we talked about this like 2 years ago or something like that at some point. Now that I'm saying that, I swear we've had this conversation like years ago. Something like that. You've been a partner for years? Oh, right on. Yeah, man, if it wasn't for the silly tax stuff that popped up over here and the concern about like benefits and everything else, like if I wasn't in Germany and I kept my affiliate and then my partner, probably would have, probably could have easily paid for at least a half of my sort of monthly obligation that I chip in on operating expenses, if I had to guess. But better safe than sorry when dealing with the Deutsche Bundesregierung. Is it Wednesday? No, it's Monday. I'm trying to like coordinate my schedule with my wife's schedule as best as possible in the evenings. And I had moved it to Tuesday and Thursday because I thought, hey, we might be in the garden more if the weather's good. And she gets off early on Wednesday and Fridays. And so that'd be great time for us to go get garden time in the evenings, because it doesn't get dark till like 10. And then her schedule got a bit discombobulated. Plus, she's trying to get a night or two of shooting in, which is either going to be like Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. And so I was like, all right, let's do Tuesday, Thursday. And then I'm like, well, if she's going to be gone anyways, potentially at the range, then let me go back to Wednesday or Friday. And I asked her and she was like, actually Monday and Wednesday's best. And so here we are. I'm streaming early today. It's only 6 p.m. I'm only going to go for maybe a couple hours, just because what happened was she got off early. We were both very just tired for some reason. Been tired a lot lately. Maybe it's the rain. Took a nap. Was like, hey, let's take an hour nap. Wound up being an hour and a half. Woke up 3 times as tired. Decided to have some coffee and some cake that we didn't eat yesterday. Ate coffee and cake. Wonderful German pastries. Completely full. We're like, oh crap. Well, then we're not going to be able to eat dinner at the usual time before stream. If I stream at 8. I ate coffee. I did. And then it was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do an early stream. And then be done streaming by 8 my time instead of starting at 8 my time. Then maybe I'll be hungry and then I'll eat some dinner and wind down for the night. So Yeah. I ate Confifi. Yeah. Yeah, Robert. Don't start, Robert. Hey, Encrypt. It's funny, Encrypt, whenever I see like a Sequisha like emote pop up, I think of Chinny. Does he use them or something? Because he doesn't look like that, really. Anytime you plan to take an hour nap, turns in like 3 hours. That can happen as well. What's up, Dozakar? Dozakar, was I just reading something of yours in like Discord or somewhere where you were? It was a very long read, I think, of yours. You were not happy about something. Hey, John. What's up, Rusty Cages? Lemon Candies. Justin said, went to a garden nursery 2 weeks ago. Love your garden fans. Was too hot for me. I gotta post. Maybe I'll do that tonight. I gotta post some garden pictures. I got some good garden pictures. Hey, Viro. Sorry, the wall of text attack has rough resist checks. I'm just trying to. I always feel a little bad when I read something from like one of our regulars or somebody that I know, and I'm like, I just want you to love everything about the game always. And that's super unrealistic. Trust me, after doing this for a couple decades now, I get that that's unrealistic. But I'm like, oh man. But then I'll read some stuff. I'm like, well, that shit's not changing. I don't know that that's directly applicable to what you wrote, but for some reason I think it might be. It's like, I'm sorry I made you sad. Well, not me in this case. I'm sorry Nick probably made Ollie, somebody else, not me. Cuff said, you're right about AOA. It is really good. I told you. Hey, Wallabus. Yeah, I mean, for some stuff, and I don't say this in any sort of like negative way at all. Don't read it like this. Folks on Reddit that apparently watch my streams, according to a fun Reddit discussion over the weekend or whatever about what a big meanie I guess I am. Which is so weird. I swear I'm not. But maybe I am, depending on who you are. I don't know. At least a couple people like me. And that will be the totality of our subscriber base when we go live after 2 months. Yeah, so anyway, see guys, he just made a joke about that. We'll see. Reddit, remind me in 8 months, how many subs do they have? And you might be right, dude. You might be right. But, like, what are we going to do? Like, cower and worry? We're going to make the game we're going to make to the best of our ability. We're going to try to execute on our things that we think will work to the best of our ability. If the shit doesn't work, then if we haven't pissed off too many people, then we can make adjustments. And then maybe some people will come back. It is early access after all. But if everybody got sad because I say silly things on stream, well, then Lord forgive me. Anyways. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. AOA. I was just mentioning like Ollie and Nick. AOA, like we may have to talk to Hidden Tree about this. Hidden Tree, if you're out there, what do you think about like a affiliate program? Could Eminem get like an AOA affiliate program? Like maybe a little, maybe like a, AOA / Monsters and Memories kind of thing. And if they go there and be like, all they got to do is like, it's like a checkbox. Did Monsters and Memories piss you off by being too tedious, killing you too much, killing you too soon, not being intuitive enough or whatever? And and then you just click it on the way and be like, we're sticking it to the M&M guys, and then we get like a little percentage off the first month or something. It's like we'll send Hidden Tree and the AOA guys new customers like nonstop. It'll be a little pathway, little M&M to AOA pathway. Because I do think a lot of the stuff that people have pointed out, like they, like, hey, we like M&M, except, and then it'll be some stuff. I think AOA covers many of those things really well, and I think that's great for them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, none of this is like some backhanded bullshit, tongue in cheek, blah blah blah. It is that's what we mean when we say, hey, we're making different games, guys. When everybody lumps all of the like various like classically inspired games into one bucket, it's like they're different games. They're very different games. Pantheon's very different from Embers. Both of those are different from AOA. All three of those are different from us. It's just like, I would say you've got like you've got some cool options to check out. And then you've got like the ones that have been around, like Project Gorgon and stuff like that. And, I would say with games like Embers Adrift, why not go back every once in a while and check it out? Like my excuse is I barely have any time. I'm sleepy all the time. I'm getting old. I've got here AOA. I think I've even updated the command here. It used to be eco. There you go. I may mispronounce it, but it's Adrelon. Yeah, I think that's it. Adrelon Online Adventures. It used to be Evercraft. And you saw me play at a few different playtests. Evercraft, you can find those VODs as well. Yeah, exactly. Rookshep said, in the AOA test, I did definitely immediately have the thought that it solved a lot of the gripes that a lot of people had. Night wasn't so dark. You keep your spells mimed on death, etc. Exactly. Love the way they do the map. And don't get me wrong, there's stuff that they do that we'll absolutely be stealing, just like we steal stuff from all sorts of games. Not going to say that we've been talking about a new zone that'll be coming up in the module. The first big update, Module 1, we're already working on zones. I think we've already got like one zone pretty much art-wise, I'd say like 85% in the bag, dungeon. Like, so we're doing zones and stuff for the first big update. And one of the zones we were talking about today was actually all of a sudden very Silent Hill inspired. So, I mean, we borrow from all over the place. Hey, Quicksana, Everall, getting distracted. Hamer. The rest of you guys that snuck in here, Qualinos. Yeah, you know what? I mean, and here's the thing with the, I hope we get a fun rivalry between the two games. I don't necessarily, like, I guess there could be like fun rivalry, but you got to understand, during the, I don't know about this last playtest, but the playtest before that, Nick was, I think, the first level 15. Like, in their playtests, like, we play these games. I mean, like I was about to say, me not so much a lot of the time, just because I'm really apparently shitty at time management, and I feel guilty about any time that's not either going to my garden, my wife, or M&M. But like, we're rooting for all these games. We don't see it as like a zero sum type thing, you know what I mean? Like, Quicksana, I think it was this last weekend that they were going. I thought it was this weekend as well. Was it just a stress test this last weekend? Because I felt really bad because I was like, I thought it was on the 11th. And I haven't gone back to the site to check. Is it the 11th? It was a flash test. Oh, awesome. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, like I said, I've been so slammed. I didn't even have a chance to check it. I thought it was the 11th, and so when I saw people playing this weekend, I was like, oh shit, I missed another playtest. Okay. All right, so it's this weekend. Perfect. I can absolutely sneak in some time this weekend. That's awesome. Rookship said, if by rival you mean shamelessly supporting each other. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Without a doubt, there are going to be things that every team does where we look at maybe the other team and we go, oh, I would do it this other way. And that's why we're doing it the other way with our game. But I think it's awesome to be able to look and go, okay, they're doing these things. Cool. And if we find like something is just working better, like we'll shamelessly steal those ideas. And that clip will be used in court. Hey, Hoops. Thanks, Quicksana. Did you see the new reaction video to the playtest by a streamer named Clean? I did. I popped in while he was actually streaming a bit. He's a sharp guy. If you didn't know, like, I mean, I don't know all the details, but I guess he's a game developer as well. So it was interesting kind of hearing where he was absolutely like just pointing out stuff like, yep, this is probably this problem, or hey, I can see why they're doing that. But I thought it was a very objective take from him. Oh yeah, I haven't. If anybody knows a cat with opinions, I should probably shoot a cat with opinions a message saying, by the way, we embedded your video in our last update. Hey Dargith, what's going on? Except, yeah, it said, I would think of it like PoE 1 and 2. Y'all need to space your patches and coordinate together so you don't overlap. We actually do. We, Hidden Tree, Ollie, Nick, and I are in a little group DM, and we do that all the time. Nick's typically staying on top of that. And it's probably out of self-interest. He just wants to play. And don't get me wrong, there will eventually, there'll be things that we've said, you know, for a while where we're like, hey, we just don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we think it's not the right move. And then at some point, it's very possible that we play a game where it's being done and we're like, oh man, this is actually kind of tight. Maybe we do that, right? So, I mean, that's just game development. Monthly update was super good. Not sure if you mentioned it yet. No, I was going to wait until some people rolled in here and then I was going to mention it. Like maybe we could run through it a little bit and check it out. Hey, Edzilla. Do we have any plans to go to Steam at any point? We have no plans to go to Steam in the foreseeable future. A lot of the smaller games that I've worked on in the past, a lot of them, I've worked at one company that had a bunch of smaller games, Big Point, and I worked at the last company that had by small game, I mean their numbers are actually pretty freaking like good for MMOs that are a niche MMO. But like one of the things that we kind of look at is like, all right, how much can we get, like build up a core audience going into early access, roll into early access, use our own launchers and patchers, use our own payment system, etc. Keep all of that, cash ourselves. Don't give the platform a cut. But the other thing that it is you guys, this may sound counterintuitive, and who knows, maybe if you're a business major out there, you may find that this is a bullshit way of doing it. But one thing that Steam does well, one thing that like being, if we were to be put on Steam or Jagex's, launcher or something, or like work with somebody like that, or Amazon or whatever, is the thing that they do really well is get you a ton of eyeballs. The problem that we have is we're a small indie team that is putting out our early access at a time where we would love for it to be a bigger game with more content and more polish. But we're entering into our early access phase when we think we need to, just because we're just kind of at that point where we're like, hey, we think we've got enough to make a compelling value proposition to you guys as players, and we think we have enough to keep you for a while, and we would like to see if we could get some money coming in and start giving some cash to some of our guys and just try to get the ball rolling there, because at some point we've got to increase our capacity, and that's going to mean paying some of our guys full time and outsourcing some of the work. We have to increase our capacity to hit the scale that we want to hit. That's our plan. That's our business, sort of our business plan incorporates that approach. If we go, hey, everybody in the universe, check out our game at that stage, it's not the right time. Then it's like, oh, this game's not finished, or this game's, got this bug, or this game's, it's like, yeah, this is like a legit early access, guys. This isn't like early access is bullshit marketing. It's a legit early access kind of thing. So we figured that other companies, for as much as the people in Discord and Reddit and stuff like that, like, are all very experienced executive producers and like chief product officers at other companies, I'm sure. Like the thing that we're looking at is, all right, timing wise, we know, sorry, not timing wise, like the thing we're looking at is, all right, a company like Star Stable Entertainment is able to go direct to the customers, direct to the players, have their own launcher, have, installer launcher, payment system, blah, 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 and establish a pretty good business, right? Other companies, and that was just the first example in my mind. It's the last company I was at. Other companies are capable of going direct to the player base, handling payments, handling, distribution, getting the game out there, and are able to grow. It's not an impossibility. This is not a thing that's never been done before, right? Going all the way back to SOE, or, Origin and UL and stuff, though they may have been, were they owned by EA by then? I don't know. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you generally get the point. So what we're saying is we go out there first. Now, if we hit a point where we're like, hey, we think the need is that we need to just reach more eyeballs with our niche game. The thing is, we know we're a niche game. Why get a bunch of eyeballs only to get shit reviews and like have people tell you like, this game sucks, because they came into it just wanting an MMO, just wanting a fantasy game, and they know nothing about what we're trying to accomplish. Like, if we hit a point where we feel like we need more people just to pile in there, which is what I've seen at other companies, once they kind of feel like they've saturated their core, then they'll be like, yeah, let's see if we can start to pull other people in, like get more exposure, get more, higher degree of discovery or whatever. Does that make sense? Fat Chunk 19, thank you for the follow. Anmalon, thank you for the follow. So that's what we're looking at. It's not just like we don't want the cut. Like, oh, we don't want to pay them the cut. We're saying we kind of like, I'll be honest, we may even be better off. We may be better off like even having a fraction of the people that tried out Pantheon and maybe even like Pantheon, right? They sold 100 and 100,000 plus early access units, right, at $40. Like, we don't need all of that day one. We're better off with like a hardened sort of base who know what they're getting into. They've been in the playtest coming in, and instead of looking like, and I can show you the curves, instead of looking like almost every other big like boom splash, and then that just steep curve over a month and a half, and then the long tail, and then trying to grow that again, because everybody's going to point to that and go, oh look, they had 900, like if you look at New World, they had 900,000 concurrent, and now they're like rocking it at whatever it is. I can bring it up in a second, right? But it's we're better off being like we're better off being more like, I think if you look at, I've got these actually. If you look at I think Foxhole, if you look at, and again, I didn't do enough digging on these specific examples to be like, you know, 100% are they using other patchers and all this other stuff. But if you look at something like a, you know, even Final Fantasy 14 on Steam, it starts low and builds its way up, even with its peaks and dips. If you look at like a Maple Story on Steam, right? Like, you know, and again, I know these guys have their own sort of launchers and stuff like that. If you look at like a, Foxhole, oops. There's my little option to pop it out. Right, just and this is the way that like Star Stable grew, but without being on Steam, so we don't have their data. It's the way that like Star Stable grew linearly for 10 years. Like it was still growing while I was there. Voxel Albion, I think, is another one that's kind of showed a similar thing, at least if you look on Steam, right? And so you can see these like slow growth. Oh, EVE Online was like this back in the day. EQ was like that for a long time, right? And you know, but that's different than even like big success stories. Like if you look at a Valheim, right? That's over the course of like, you know, a month or two. And now that's not to say there's nothing to sneeze at. They find their sort of base, like their floor, and they run it. If you look at like a PAX Day, early access, New World was kind of like the great example back in the day, right? Like boom, 900,000. Right. So I know you can probably shoot holes in some of these examples, and maybe they're not the right examples using Steam numbers or whatever. But the people you work with are doing an Albion Creator event right now. They're a great company. And a great product. We've watched some of their like watched one of their GDC talks on like how they manage resource inflow and sinks and stuff. Smart guys. Red 6, howdy. What's the biggest takeaways from the June playtest? Well, there were some bigger tech things that we both knew of and discovered that were causing some crashes, and so it's nice to get that taken care of. I think the biggest, and I want to do a more detailed breakdown of the June playtest stats and have that be as like a little mini update. And sorry, Snell, I'll come back to your thing in a second. And so we'll dig into that a little bit. Things that we noticed, we see kind of consistent patterns with our playtest at this point, where we'll have a day one where we'll have a higher unique user count. I hate saying user, sorry, it's just behind the scenes technical, but I don't like the term relative to player, but like we'll have a higher unique player count. What happens is on more recent playtests, especially like with Clean coming in on, I think it was Friday, maybe that was Saturday, you guys have to remind me, but we had a couple streamer situations where people come in and they bring people. We'll have new people come in on those first days, streamers or not. We'll have new people come in and they'll be like, oh, what is this shit? You know what I mean? Like we'll churn a decent percentage. I'd say like we probably churn We'll have to dig into it, but we churn 15 to 20% easy on day one of new people. And I think looking at the data that might be, but I want to confirm the data, that might be as high as like 30% of absolutely new people will come in, they'll churn on day one. And what we notice is both in the petition queue, because we're answering petitions behind the scenes. And I'm proud to say that the team keeps those petitions. Let me look at something more interesting while I'm rambling. The team keeps those petitions, those queues down to like 1, 2. You know, they're always trying to help people, but like we'll see it in the petition queue, like, oh, people are talking shit, you know, like an OOC, and by that I mean like being offensive, or like being problematic or whatever. We see that day one mostly. New people come in, OOC's a bit of a bit of chaos, and then they churn, and then like day 2, 3, 3.5, you know, like that Monday or whatever. Things stabilize. OOC becomes very civil. Yeah, and it's like, oh, let me get back on the topic from earlier and wrap that up. But basically, takeaways, I'll get into more details there. Nothing like insane new or whatever. Big takeaway was like 500 plus people in Night Harbor. So 500 plus people in a zone, and it was like stable with the exception of like weird bugs. But like general stability and general performance was good. That's sick. I mean, that's a fantastic place to be at this point before early access and stuff. So, yeah. Let me go back and hit some of these that you're asking before we get too far away from it. You're saying they were seeing growth. Yeah, the other games, even with yeah, like Star Stable. When I was there, it went from like 250,000 monthly active users. By the time I left, it was at like 450,000 monthly active users, and during COVID, they went over 700,000 monthly active users. And I think once they went onto mobile, because it's cross-platform, once they got on mobile devices, I heard rumor that they broke 1 million monthly active users at one point. That may not be true. So that's pretty good for an MMO that you've never heard of, most of you. $2.5 to $5 million a month is not bad money for a little game. They had stable growth. Nah, perfect. That was very good. I don't know where they're at now. I mean, it might have dipped or whatever. They might have finally peaked. But after watching the WoW to old school RuneScape video, natural growth seems inevitable. The appetite is clearly there. I think one of these games, if not us, somebody, is going to come out and just be the right mix of like sense of place and sense of constant sort of discovery and always having something to grind for. I was explaining this to my wife, right? The phenomenon is it's not hard to figure out. I think what happened is MMOs, if you look at WoW, I think WoW turned into, because it's such a, you know, like good game. So, you know, it's been so polished over the years and done so much with cinematics and VO and very narrative driven content and all that. It became like a movie series, right? So those big, you know, the big expansions were like movies, like boom, just a lot invested into them timing wise or whatever. But like people, at least I want the next Dungeon Crawler Carl book to be out, and after that I want 20 more, and I want them to all be just as good as this one. They don't need to be stellar, they don't need to blow my mind, they need to be just as good or maybe a little bit worse and then a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to always go back and hang out with those characters and be in that world and be entertained. Cheers was always an example I gave when I worked on EverQuest. Was like, we're kind of like Cheers. You guys come into your guild, say, and I've said this before, you come into the guild, say, or you come into chats and stuff. You're like, hey guys, it's like, oh, there's Dargith, talk, you know, saying that we're worst looking EverQuest and all this stuff. Again, if you don't know Dargith, he's just quoting Co-Carnage. Or like, hey guys, right? It's the place that you go to after work. It's your third place, right? Cheers. The place where everybody knows your name. It's you want. I don't want to say you. I want a TV show. Norm. I want a TV show that goes on forever. I want Downton Abbey to go on forever and never jump the shark, never suck, right? I want my favorite book series to never end and never jump the shark. And I think that's a standard that exists with books, with TV shows, right? Like we don't need you to spend $1 billion per episode. We just need you to make decent shit forever. And it doesn't have to be the highest quality. It doesn't have to have the biggest production values. It can all just take place in the Abbey. I want to see the girls in Downton Abbey to go from being young all the way through being ancient. It should be like some Agatha Christie Golden Girl shit. You know what I mean? Like, and we'll watch them forever. That's what I want. And I want it to be steady and reliable and decent, never jump the shark, and I want it to be there. It's the same thing. Like, people feel that way about, it's, Gilmore Girls, right? It's just, it's the new hard show. I'm using some weird ass examples. Huh? Does anybody have like a decent, more recent example? It's the X-Files, right? Like, and I think people look for that in like their old school RuneScape, Star Trek, Murder She Wrote, whatever. Like people want that in their old school RuneScape, and I think that's why old school RuneScape's good. Simpsons season 400, right? Like we just want that. We want it to be decent, man. Don't jump the shark. Always be there for us. Always a little bit new. And with us, like how many times have you rewatched old X-Files seasons? How many times have you rewatched old Murder She Wrote, Star Trek, right? We'll go back and play that shit. And just, keep it steady Freddy. And so I think that's, and that's the other thing you can't do. WoW is like Star Wars used to be good. Now people question what's even happening. If you decide, here's the thing. You've got to love your IP, and you got to love the people that loved your IP from the beginning. Or you don't have to. I think we have to. I think the industry would benefit from that. And we're not going to get political. We're not going to get social or any of that shit. I think this is neutral. I think this is a very neutral statement. When a company or a creator starts to go, hey, I want some more other people who haven't checked out the IP, so I'm going to alter the IP in order to try to influence more people to come in. I understand what that move is business wise, and sometimes it works, but that's not us. Like we're not going to be those people. Hey, dangly legs. It's evergreen in the sense that you just kind of love it. Like it's not necessarily like, I think when companies talk about evergreen, they're like, it's like it's user generated content or whatever, but it's more of like I think it's just maybe that's it, right? Maybe it just comes down to like, make a thing you love, and if there's enough people that love it with you, then you've got a business, and don't leave them. Like you guys we'll keep loving it. You guys keep loving it. We're not gonna try to like change it. Like you just said, somebody in here just said it. Yeah, sacrificing what got you there to chase money. Yeah, it's like, oh, now I'm rich. I want to go. Yeah, it's like, how many bad divorce stories have come out of that one, right? Like, yeah. So anyway, that's the end of my ramble. I think you guys get what we're shooting for and kind of like the approach or whatever. And here's the thing. Like, I think being reasonable with expectations. Everybody's talking about okay, well, then the game's going to come out and then it's going to drop off and then you're going to have 10 people. Okay, that may actually be the case. That may be the case. you guys on Reddit or wherever, you may be right. We may have 100 subs after 3 months. But that's the risk. If that possibility didn't exist in business, every business would be successful. Business would be easy, right? Like, of course, that's a possibility. But the thing that we are not going to do is, if we've got 10,000 or we've got 30,000 or we've got 50,000 after a year, we're not going to suddenly like, you know, start bedazzling the product and, you know, sprinkling some glitter on it and shit in the hopes of like getting to 100,000 or 400,000. Like, if we can maintain a decent steady business, and, you know, keep the lights on and just kind of go, we're creative people. We'll love M&M forever. We'll treat it like our flagship. We'll never betray it. We're not going to like pull our key people off to go do some other money grab or whatever. There are a couple people on the team that will absolutely want to like start, you know, their own shooter, MMO or whatever. We know what's going on there. That's already a thing, you know, like that. But there will be other things we want to spin up, but we'll spin them up small, and they'll have to do like grow them in a similar way, or we, if I'm part of it, whatever. And we're not ever going to overcommit in a way that impacts M&M. M&M is our thing. M&M is our Downton Abbey that sticks around for 100 seasons. That's that. And yeah, someone just said, Alnosis said, concept of right-sizing the game as a business is so critical. I think just right-sizing a studio, you know what I mean? Like, I've just seen studios have a little bit of success and then just get greedy and ultimately screw themselves. And by screw themselves, I don't mean like they imploded. I think like almost every company I've worked for is still around, and almost every game I've worked on is still live. So they didn't like implode, but they could have, I think they could have been steady longer, or maybe even grown over time by staying more true to like their flagship title. Do you think EQ has been able to maintain his long-term attraction? Fishguts asked. I mean, if you look, the last like very clear data we had was like a EG7 who owns them. I think it's an Ad Global 7. Since they're a public company, they published a report at the time that they purchased DPG. And it was pretty clear about like what the stats were for all of the products that came with that purchase. And if you looked at the time, I think it was like EQ had like 80,000 MAU with like 60,000 pay users or something like that. And you know, it's like a 20 at the time is what, like 24-year-old game. DC Universe Online had like 400,000 monthly actives or something, right? Like I think EQ2 wasn't in bad shape. That deck is out there somewhere. I think I've got it on a I might even have it just like in, let me see real quick if I've got it somewhere. Hold on one sec. Anybody, if anybody's clipping this or watching this and like, they're like, why am I using this as a reference? I'm using this as a reference because it's data that's available on one of the many games that we talk about here. And this is in no way indicative of us being fixated on EverQuest or the EverQuest IP, but it is an interesting example, much like somebody was saying something about Pantheon like falling off a cliff. Pantheon didn't fall off a cliff. We were just like, let's look at the difference between, and I know there's ways of looking at this and saying apples and oranges or whatever, but like just as a quick example, different scale, sure. But yeah, like I think they're doing fine. Is there stuff they could be doing better? Sure. And I think that's reflected here. Somebody was talking about this in Discord. Well, no, I don't think that's because Pantheon lost Brad before this launch, right? So I think the thing that you're referencing is a little different. But what I'm saying is, the thing we see here is like, all right, December, January peak. That's about 100,000 people who had purchased it, 110, something like that, plus the people that aren't on Steam. And you just see a gradual decline over time. And you can see plenty of other games that if you look in the same sort of like, right, like you see bigger, I mean, even games that are heralded as like pretty decent successes in terms of live game or whatever, right? Like if we, no, let me look at Helldivers. Helldivers is a great example. And I mean, you guys realize like I'm not here to carry water for Pantheon or any other team. Like I think it's important to sort of like keep things in perspective. So like March, April, May, right? Now they're dealing with like they get a bigger hit from a ton of people coming in. This is what I'm saying, like we don't need a ton of exposure going into early access. But I think it's fair to say that one hypothesis we could make with this is with these guys, they're big splash, big marketing, shitloads of people, right? Like 458,000, 498,000, and here is 900,000, right? Now the thing that we then see is that drop off's natural because it's just a lot of people that are just going to check it out and then not play, right? So that curve's always probably going to be a bit steeper. But if we go back, New World had a shitload of issues when it went live, a ton. And I would say New World had more issues when it went live than like Pantheon. Now, on the flip side, I think this is probably, and again, I'm not trying to like, I'm absolutely not talking shit. I'm actually trying to be fairly positive compared to what I see stated a lot of times in like Discord or Reddit, especially in ours. And it's a bit self-serving for us because again, it is, hey, I think you're making the wrong argument and this is why it may not be relatable to us. Maybe, we'll see. I think this is more of a content issue. I think this is a content and looking at a belief that, hey, there's going to be a steady, impactful next release, right? It's a content live operations perception problem. If you were gonna like pull me in objectively and I didn't have skin in the game because we weren't making a game in like the same space or whatever, like as a producer, that's what I would look at here in sort of analyzing the, looking at the sort of overall market and stuff, because this is a kind of a steady bleed, right? And the thing is, this doesn't indicate an inability to regrow it. This is just because these people, myself included, we paid $40 and we'll come back if there's something super interesting or whatever. There's no like, kind of like sense of, all right, well, I'm paying every month, so I want to come back every bit and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of this may come down to communications, perception, marketing, if you will. And this is the kind of thing that we look at when it's like, hey, we are currently working, and you can look at it and go, hey, why are you working on the next shit if the current stuff that you're going into EA with isn't like perfect? But because we know that part of what we have to do is we have to have a plan for regular, ongoing, impactful releases. And so when we go into early access, what we want to do is this is like mid-December, January, February, March. That's 3.5 months right there, and it's still at a decent rate because again, this is peak. This is not monthly active users. The way that we typically look at it, or at least the way I've always looked at it on other games, and what I've seen, even in our current stats, we had like what 56, 5,800. We'll get into update in a minute. 56, 5,800 play over the weekend. And then you look at your daily active users, and I think, whatever that, we'll have to look at it again. It tends to be 4 times this number. So if it's round up to 7,000, if peak concurrent was 7,000, then it's very possible that the daily active users for them, if anybody at Pantheon wants to shoot me a DM and be like, hey, you're on the money or completely off, I'd love to know. I'm just using you as an example, sorry. But like if it's 7,000, round up to 7,000, then we would say, I would tend to just do the math of like multiply it times 4. So that day they probably had, 28,000, roughly 28,000, 28,000 people play, to hit a 7,000 CCU. And then I typically do that for monthly active users. And in this case, if you take 25 or 28,000 and multiply it times 4, you wind up at about 100,000, which is how many units they sold, right? They sold 110,000 units in this time period. It seems like it might hold up, right? And so what was Eminem's DAU for the June playtest? I have to bring it up in a second. I think it was like 4,000 something. And this is data that we've run into a thing where when we pull this data, we on occasion will get conflicting data, and we're kind of like, let's triple verify this. So 5,000 plus was actually our for the weekend. So 5592 was what we pulled for the weekend. And so I've got to see where we had unique accounts for day 1. Ali said, I think it was like 4,451. Right. So this is why I've held off on the bigger, sort of more in-depth breakdown of the stats, because there's just some stuff we want to make sure that we're good. So anyways, to close this off so I can shut this graphic, I think, like I said, I think just meaningful, impactful updates that are properly communicated, sort of marketed within the community is one of those things. That's the reason why we're like, hey, we want to have module 1 within 3 months of going into early access. We want to be able to go, boom, next big module. And as part of that, we're already working on module 2, right? Because we want to, within a reasonable time frame after that, boom, right? Because we're pointing to it. And that's the other thing where it's a big deal for us to be on our dates. Like it's for us to like always be on our dates, like is important for the long term, because like if we can tell you we're going to do something by a certain date and we deliver that, then hopefully you're thinking, hey, when we say we're gonna drop this big update in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, you're like, and that shit's gonna happen, and then you stick around. You let the $15 come in for another couple months, right? So, let me catch up for a second. I'll answer one out of turn since it closes out that thought, and then I'll scroll back up. Dargeth asks, are you expecting module content drops to be quarterly on an ongoing basis, or just really to grease the skids after launch? Absolutely critical to grease the skids after launch, but we would like to get in a regular update cycle. Maybe it's a quarter for bigger updates, with smaller updates also happening throughout, like, month to month even, or whenever we just have something that we want to put out. But that's something we've really got to look at, just our capabilities. And for us, it's an interesting challenge, man. We're a part-time volunteer team. And so we kind of have to do the things that we have to do to be able to like commit to stuff and hit those dates. Fortunately, having worked in Europe for going on 10 years at companies, working in Europe is kind of like working with part-time volunteer teams. Just because, I mean, these dudes are always on vacation. They get like a ton of sick days. I went from like the US where it's just like crunch, 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 go, 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 no vacation. Like went from the US for most of my career to getting to Europe, and they're like, we have to learn how to move dates around or reduce scope because summer hits and these guys are gone for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever. It's like, okay. Dangly Legs, thank you for the follow. I'm gonna scroll up now. 90% of players quit within the first 3 months of MMO. Expect these niche styles like MNM Pantheon to have more retention at launch. I really think it's just going to be it's going to come down to like whether or not we can, keep you believing that the world's getting bigger and more cool shit's happening, and you like what you're playing. Like at the end of the day, if you get in, you don't enjoy it, you're not going to enjoy it. So we'll have to look at that as well. Sna said, I like your idea of modules. Instead of drip feeding stuff, it gives you a good reason to check back in for a big patch or module releases. Yeah, that's it's one of the benefits of expansions on MMOs is you got to understand like most of your weekly updates or your bi-weekly or your monthly updates aren't going to get a mention in, games journalism, right? Like there's not going to be probably not going to be like a whatever massively OP or like whatever article referencing it. But if you've got a bigger update, then you get some free sort of like PR/hype that may lead to reactivation, etc. We're doing it just because it's fucking fun. It's cool. Like how cool are modules? D&D modules are so awesome, right? Like, so it's fun to be able to like group some stuff together and have it like be a cool theme. And it's exciting for us, not just like, not just kind of like in the reactivation or retention business sort of a side of things. It's a fun thing to hopefully be able to do. Hey, Gunnar Wolf, Pixie Moon, Dadvik, anybody else that like Florane, Nomer, what's up? I probably even referenced stuff you guys said and I just didn't say hi yet. Yeah, dangly legs. I think that's the other thing too, is like we've talked about even if we're forced to have more servers than we'd like to online initially to make up for the fact that we've got a limited amount of content at the moment for you to go into, like Night Harbor and Fail and Draw and stuff like that. I think it would be smart if we felt we had to handle that with server scale to just straight out of the gate go, hey guys, we're gonna have 5 servers instead of 3, or we're gonna have 6 servers instead of 4 or 5. And then what we'll do is, even as we say that, we say, and then in 2 months we're going to collapse these 2 and these 2. We'll bracket them straight out of the gate, so that we already built up the expectation that they're going to come together, because we're telling you why we're doing it. I think that's the other thing is, maybe we'll find that this doesn't work in business or games, but like the idea of just being straightforward with why we're doing shit instead of like trying to sneak around, like the idea of just kind of going, the reason why there's 7 servers instead of 3 or 5 is because we have Night Harbor and Evershade at the moment. But as soon as we launch M1, then we'll have Aelvaroth and we'll have the Underdocks, and right, like we'll have additional starting areas which each can handle hundreds and hundreds of people. So even within 3 months after the game coming out, if we hit our date, all of a sudden we've got more starting areas, which is more content, which is less strain at peak for new people coming in. So we'll want to collapse those servers because we want it to be as social as possible, right? Partial transparency is worse than no transparency. I appreciate your honesty. I think it's just easier to maintain, right? It's like, oh, we're only going to say half the shit. Like, I'm too much of a blabbermouth to be able to pull that off. You guys were up there talking about like the chevrons and stuff. I think if they remove the chevrons, that's going to be a good move for them for sure. I was reading another post the other day. Like I think that kind of like that level of strictness, it really does. Like if, yeah, I think it's really tough because it immediately sort of at a minimum bifurcates the content, and we see that so many people like do. You know, they want a solo bid or duo trios. Duo trios are big, right? Especially if you've got like not as many people have a full static group as they do maybe a full static group's worth of people that they can reliably duo or trio with. So yeah, like Rookshep said, I didn't realize how much the Chevron system hurt that game until last M&M playtest where groups just happened. Didn't even try. It was natural. Yeah, because no matter what the group comp, like you can do some weird shit and still kill mobs because like, you know, the problem we're running into with our tuning right now, in FNF and now, you know, like closed alpha and stuff is the data we're getting in and the feedback we're getting in is like trios are just so effective. Duos, trios are so effective that it's like, why be in a full group? And so we've just got to look at like, we've got to look at a number of variables to try to pull that together into a sweet spot, you know, and one of the variables of course is like XP gain and bonuses and all that other stuff, right? But like the thing that is cool is even when we don't have things perfect, like we were talking about on stream the other day, like a camp like this means that a duo, like a solo person could probably, you know, grab a couple of these guys while they're waiting around. Next thing you know, there's 2 or 3 of us, and maybe it's like, it's 3 tanks. Well, that's still better than just one. And then you maybe start to break a little camp here, but it's a little bit slow. Maybe it's sketchy with respawn. And then you get another, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, we finally have a healer. We're in great shape. We can maybe pull a little bit more, right? So it's having that granularity and so much of what we do in all of our systems is look at how to give you guys agency over how you tackle these problems, even if you think the problem itself is tedious or shitty or punishing or just being done because Game X did it 25 years ago or whatever. We do analyze this stuff. We do think about it, and what we're doing is we're trying to ensure that there are plenty of problems in there to be solved in different creative ways by giving you as much agency and over time more and more interesting tools to solve it with. All of this is well and good, but when is the troll module? I'm kind of excited for the troll module as well. The trolls are such characters, UK rats. Carf said, will PvP have a spot in M&M even when the PvP server population dries out? Recently found out about this game level old school to MMOs. I'm coming from Dayak and Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah. I mean, we've got a PvP server up most tests, and it's always low pop, but you know, we may be limited in what we do, but we're always going to like fiddle and try to make it interesting for you guys and like support it in some way, but our PvE game comes first. Side question, you have a general guess on when the deep races might be unleashed? If you watch Zach's stream, you scroll up, ZBrush here. If you watch, ZBrush stream. How do you do shout out? I don't do a lot of this shit. Shout out username. I'm like, dude, me streaming is like watching my parents operate a remote control. There you go. If you watch his stream, if you watch Goblin's streams, etc., like you'll see the I think mainly at the moment though ZBrush, you'll see the deep races being worked on. He's been working on. Hey, that's a segue to the update. He's been working on the oops. I had Randall Carlson in the background there talking about how the moon isn't real. I love it. No spoilers for our game. Let's see. You'll see deep elves have been worked on. Deep gnomes. Deep dwarves are a bit later. But yeah, inspiration for some of our world and history and stuff. Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock, every crazy internet conspiracy theory. Hey, John. Thanks, Gagematic. Chinny D is building a Module 1 zone at the moment. That's true as well. And you know, that'll be nice because then you'll have another starting area within the sort of Night Harbor region. That's going to be so much fun connecting basically Night Harbor via the Underdocks all the way through Caves of Aram, in through the Great Cavern Sea, over to Elvaroth. Elvarith. I've still got to learn how to pronounce some of our names. I watched a video. During lunch today of a guy who got his dad to play. A much older gentleman. Guy got his dad to play as his first video game, Dark Souls, and they streamed it. And over time, his dad just like slowly improved and then beat the game. So, speaking of deep stuff. Oh yeah, definite dedication. Yeah, he said video games were a waste of time before he started. I get that. It's funny. My dad felt that way. He naturally supported. He let me rent games, or he would buy me a game or whatever. But he just thought they were a waste of time for quite a while. And it wasn't until I worked at Sony that he kind of started to get it. But mostly in the sense that it was like a pretty good paying job. All right, so this is our update. If you're on our mailing list, apologies. What we typically do is we post our update. We find all the typos. And then naturally people, like the team, will just be like sending typos in Slack. And then we update it some more so that it's like got fewer typos. The guys on Discord invariably find it. People with RSS feeds or whatever will see the update. And then the mailing list folks are kind of the last to get it, so apologies for that. But yeah, so this update just reminds you that we've got a playtest coming up at the end of this month. So we're jammed between playtests right now, so we're a little like, we're just trying to like get some meaningful changes in from the last playtest, mostly focused on some of the crashes and stability and stuff. We'd really like to get the gamma slider in and working properly for the next playtest. I'm really, fingers crossed, hoping that gets done because, again, our goal is to set up the lighting the way we think it looks most interesting and impactful. And then we'll let you slide to hit that mark. If you want to blow it out, fine, whatever. If everybody was using the exact same hardware, then we would not need to give this option. But the reality is, it is night and day on, you know, people's monitors sitting right next to each other. And we got a couple images from couples and or friends that were like playing next to each other, or people that are playing on 2 machines. And it's that's not great. So anyway, let me run through this really quick. We'll show off some images and then yeah. So for lighting, we all need to be on a Mac. That's what we'll do. We'll just make it a Mac only game. That'll solve it. Yeah, let's go. So, and we'll update these stats if for some reason we find that we weren't right. Oh, speaking. If we're incorrect in some of our stuff. Any chance you guys are dropping the sell all crap to different vendors thing yet? Nope. Malvagite? No, not yet. One of these days, if we just find it doesn't do what we're wanting to do once we get everything in, etc., and then, you know, it's a super easy fix. The thing is, what we found is most of the people that there was a big split initially, and then over time, people have really started to, like, it grows on people. Within the team, this was a very serious, no bullshit debate for a while. With people that on the team that absolutely respect, and they were like, no. Hate it, no. And it's like, hey, just give it a little bit of time, and we still need to get some systems in, some stuff that we want to do with it. And then over time, like, I think every single one of those, the most vocal dudes, and again, like, some of the, like, OG guys, you know, Nick and Zukin and other folks were like, now Zukin may still secretly hate it. Zukin, you can shoot me a DM, but like, a lot of folks have, it's really grown on them, and there's still a lot that we're going to be adding in for that. Okay, there he is. Hey, Zukin. Cool. I wasn't sure. I think the vendor thing is magnified because playtest time is so limited. I think that as well. I absolutely believe that. I think that's a great observation. People don't want to screw around when they've only got a few hours to play, and that's that, right? Like, the no map thing, like we've talked about. We want to add maps, but they're going to be like fun maps, like silly maps, right? Like there's some interesting thing, especially if it's an item that we can do with regards to triggering and other stuff. So I would love for us to be able to have you, like, I think I've shown it on stream before. The first map that you bring up is just like a doodle where it's like Night Harbor with a compass rose that's hand sketched on there with the X for the gate that you want to get to, and maybe an X just kind of like relationally speaking where you need to get once you get in there, and that's your first map. And then later on you can get, like, you know, cool stuff, like really interesting maps and different takes on the maps, and you know what I mean? I gotta look at AOA's map this weekend. I thought Ember's map was fine as well. Now in terms of like dropping pins and stuff like that for your group, nah, like that would have to be like a very special skill or spell or something like that. But again, I think that's just a difference. If that's what you're referencing, I think that's just a difference in goals in terms of accessibility and stuff. I don't like saying quality of life, because I think it's like I honestly don't think like certain decisions that are a little bit tougher or whatever, when you're like, oh, but that's not quality of life. It's like it's quality. It's quality of a different life. It's a harder life. It's a more rugged life. Will we be streaming playing this weekend? No, because that would just like make me play really bad. Plus, I'll just kind of be in and out. Dropping pins or shooting flares up is something we've talked about for a long time. Or I've mentioned it. I don't know. The rest of the team may think it's stupid. But like being able to fire a flare up or a spell, and then you see where your group is. I mean, our campfires kind of do it now, but it's not unique to that group. Let me. Getting distracted said having asked where I can sell things is the first thing that got me interacting with other players. There's a lot of stuff that's just meant to get you to chat, and people are like, I don't want to chat. It's like, do you not want to chat, or do you not want to listen to chat and see if other people are asking the questions? If you want to be in our game and just like totally ignore all other players, you can do it. God bless you. But it's just not, that's not our goal. Vendor system allows for such charming emergent gameplay, letting an enterprising low level make a dangerous run to high level zones shifty to make earn some extra spell money is rad. Yeah, and then just wait and you'll save up, and if you can buy a little donkey to bring with you, you know, maybe that. I don't. It seems like, especially as the world gets big, some of this stuff hopefully really starts to make sense and make it feel different than like. You know, just different than hobo murderer number always goes up simulator kind of thing. Yeah, you can own pack animals. We've got a donkey that's been worked on. I don't think it's in, but you can see it in updates. Can we have shipping services? Have donkey will carry your loot back to the bank in your town service? Yeah, and you could. So we've got some pieces for that now, but it'll be that maybe it's a selection that, or maybe that's even a thing that we could add on to our. We're putting in containers that allow you to. They're consignment containers, and so you can set up the terms of a deal, like what percentage. You know, like you get 10% of the cut if you sell this item for 1,000 platinum, blah blah blah. Maybe we could make a container that's the condition is if you take this to the bank, when you put it in your bank, it goes into the owner of the item's bank. That might be a really cool delivery mechanism. At a minimum, what we could do is because we're also going to have like a sort of like a customs station in every city, or custom stations in every city. So like if your house gets, you stop paying your rent, all the shit just goes into storage. And so we can use that for when something, you know, different things happen, it just goes into storage. So then so then maybe it just goes there. You put it there, it's kind of there, and then you pick it up and you can take it to the bank. But like that type of stuff is like really simple to add to the foundational pieces that we're already putting in place. So yeah. Pixie Moon said, my group told me to flash my torch when they were looking for me in the dark. Totally worked. Oh, that's such a cool. See, like to me, that's just like, I'll remember that you said that because that's such an interesting thing. Dobbs said, I'm not a fan of the vendor system. However, I do love the fact that it shifts focus from kill, doing rinse, repeat to other tasks in game other than leveling. Also, I mean, I always got sad. Like when people are like, hey, the city's more complicated than other games. I'm like, dude, our bank is like within 20 seconds, literally 20 seconds of the main gate on either side. Have you run from like a newbie yard in Freeport, in the old Freeport, the original Freeport, to the bank? Right? And when you go by the Jade Tiger and stuff like that, I always just wished, like when I was running by shops and stuff in the cities and like, you know, in a game like EQ or whatever, that there's always some people in these using these different places. But like, if you don't have to buy something from that specific vendor, why would you ever go to that shop, right? Like, and for us, it's just this idea of by, one of the things that's happening is by having to go to those vendors, then people are always kind of going back and forth there. And then by implanting player ownable, rentable property within that stuff as well, then you may have some more traffic. We just want there to be some life and like social friction going on. And people are like, yeah, well, that'll never work early on. But I think we're already starting to see that. Will vendors adjust prices via supply and demand? Like what they actually need, they pay more for? I don't know if we'll eventually hit that, Tsunami-san. That might be a thing. Like Ali, I think Ali's degree is in economics, and we talked about stuff like that over the years, but who knows? Once we've got like the full world in place, and you've got, because there'll be different resource types in different regions and things like that. We might be able to start to play more of a game. We could maybe do that with like the bartering system. Would like to get the bartering system in. So, and there'll be more info on that. If you want more life, code the NPC AI better. Don't force tedium on selling, which is something you do all day. I don't know, but the thing is, you're the one that mentioned that you don't like it. At least one other person says, I don't like it. It's not my favorite thing, but I can see some of the benefits. And then everybody else said they liked it. So now we can spend more time trying to make the NPCs in town more dynamic, and we may do that with some scheduling and stuff. But there's actually there's a pretty quick diminishing returns because you're always going to be in an uncanny valley unless we're doing like what crazy like what behaviors are going to make it so that it's like that's why you run around and like interact with the world more. You're going to interact with the world if they give you a quest, if there's some reward to be gained out of it, often by like killing them or doing a quest, or if they have specific utility. The utility is evergreen. The utility is low cost to implement and persistence. But like the overwhelming consensus in here is like people they're having fun with it. So like I think there will be people that are like, hey, I find this tedious, and they're going to find other shit tedious. They're going to find corpse runs tedious, and they're going to find, oh my gosh, my spell book. It's an echo chamber of 130 people. Yeah, but you're one person that's in the echo chamber speaking against it. So you're, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to shit on it, because it could be that we lost 10,000 people who didn't come to the stream because of this one thing, right? At the end of the day, when people are like, oh, it's an echo chamber because I went into the Discord of like, it's only around 15,000 people. And a lot of people were agreeing with stuff, but that's what happens. It's like going into a church and saying, oh man, this place is an echo chamber because I came in and told them why there's no God. And then like everybody is like, why are you here? Oh, are they ever going to change? It's like, it could just be you're in the wrong place. I'm only here to someday see the troll model. The game is losing me on most other fronts at this point. That's fine. And I don't say that in a bad way. I don't mean that in like, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to like be mean or anything like that. I think if you don't like the game, you don't like the game. And if you like, speaking of which, we'll post pictures of the troll model on the website. There'll be videos of people running around having a good time with the troll model. You can watch that. If the troll model is enough to bring you back and you're like, hey, I hate everything about this game, but I really like this troll, that's cool. Then that is awesome, and we want you to like enjoy the troll. But like when you are like, the game is losing me on most all other fronts at this point, it's like, Yeah, we knew that was going to happen, oddly enough. Somehow, 5 years ago, when we said, hey, we're making a game that is the game that we want to play, that we like, that is going to be ultra niche, and we'll be surprised if only a couple thousand people show up. When we said that for 5 years straight, we actually we looked into the future and we thought, you know what? There may be some people that don't like this game. Now, if we came in for 5 years and we were like, dude, we're the next WoW. We're the next whatever big thing. Everybody's going to love us. You know what? The decisions we're making are going to be broadly and widely heralded as the best design in the history of designs. You said, well, I came for EQ. Eminem has gone down the path of further tedium that EQ never had. Yeah, it's not EQ, homie. Right. And, you know, for 5 years, we've said, hey, we're not looking to, people are like, this kind of looks like, you know, EQ. We're like, we're not making EQ. We're making a thing that we think that some people that played EQ, or some people that played Final Fantasy 11, or some people that played EverQuest Online Adventures, or some people that played UO and wish that it looked better like EQ, or like, we're making a unique game that is based on our experience with other games. And it's the game that we want to make. And we've been super blessed to have a decent number more people show up than we were expecting so far. And this is where then people get into the, well, but do you understand, like, servers cost money, and like, if you're going to pay a team of 30, that you've got to, like, the team knows when they came on board, they know that they know all the details of what we're shooting for. They know, well, first of all, like, half the team can never join our company full time because they've got great day jobs. This is a thing where they'll always just be a part of the family and part of the team, and they'll contribute in small ways, and we'll give them some profit share. And, like, you know, like, if we've got the cash, we'll pay them for the hours that they're putting in and stuff like that. Like, our goal is to make the game that we want to make. And if we find that it's resonating with people, great. And if we find that there's small tweaks that we can make and it'll resonate with more people, great. But, like, we're making the shit that we want to make. We've been saying that for 5 years, since this was a blender mesh that I made. I'm not an artist. With little capsule dudes that I animated. I'm not an artist. And the team was 4 people before we had artists, right? Like, we've been saying the same thing for 5 years. And then someone, you know, like, someone got a wild hair up their ass that we're like, we're making EverQuest 3 or some shit. And then when they're like, well, you did this thing that I don't like, I don't agree with this because I think this is even more tedious than EverQuest. Oh, what are you guys even thinking? We're thinking the same shit we've been thinking for 5 years. That's it. And, like, if someone's like, yeah, but now you're wasting an opportunity because there's more people than we ever thought that would show up or whatever. I don't know how else to explain this to people. I don't know what else to say. If people are like, oh man, now, and it's going to be on Reddit, it's like, and then he was ranting and raving instead of, like, doing work or whatever. He just gets on there and he's so, it's funny. I'm like, on Reddit, it's like, and he's arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm literally just telling you the same shit we've been telling you. Like, I feel like I'm a fairly nice guy. Game dev gatekeeps are fun. Yeah. It's like, Miss Echelis, is that it? Yeah, it's like, we've been doing the same thing. Like, we had like 5 people watching the stream, and it was little capsule dudes running around. Eminem Dev attacks his own audience. Yeah, and I'm not... Malvagite? Is it Malvagite? I'm not... I absolutely... I don't want to ever... Like, there is occasionally when someone comes in, they're very rude, and I will attack, right? But like in a playful way. Like I don't mean this to be like, what did Sean drink today? It's only 7 p.m. here today. I'm just not tired as shit. It's not like 9:30 p.m. I'm not attacking you, and I hate when people come in Discord and like it gets very personal, and then people are like, oh, I came in, the echo chamber attacked me. On one hand, it's like, yeah, but if you sort of like poke at the thing that everybody's there for enough times, they're gonna respond. But I don't like when like people hit people with clown emojis, and I don't like, I don't like seeing people. And again, I'm just one member of the team at this point. Like, so maybe I don't want to. When I say I hate using I a lot. But like in this case, I don't want the people that are unhappy with this or don't like what we're doing or whatever. I don't want you to be messed with. I don't want you to be like flamed or for it to get personal in Discord or Reddit or whatever. That's not good. But that's also sometimes why I'm kind of like, man, don't stick around and just keep poking the bear, right? Like if people are like, we think the project's going to fail because of these decisions, I was like, dude, okay, you know what? If failure is more likely than not with any endeavor, and I can't argue with that, but like, I feel like if the people that truly think, hey, the game's gonna fail because you guys are making the wrong decisions, but they're not malicious or they're not like trying to troll or whatever, those people, they come in, they look at it, they, like I'll have 400 or 500 people watch the stream, unique people watch the stream in a given stream. We're only ever like, 80 or 100. Well, I guess I moused over the thing, 148 now or whatever. Well, but this is like 150, 100 person stream, right? It never gets bigger than that, but people come through because I think some people come through and they hear what I'm saying. They're like, nah, I'm good. And they bounce, and they don't have to be like, hey, this stream could be better if you did this, or hey, this stream sucks, right? They just bounce. If you go to a restaurant and you don't like the food, you could tell everybody you don't like the food, or you could just never go there again. And I think a lot of people will come in and churn and they just won't let us know. And that's that. But like, guys, we understand this. This has always been a thing. This is something that we've taken a lot of care to mention to the team as well. It's like, hey guys, if you're coming on this team, understand, like, we looked at the curves earlier. We were looking at different games' curves. And like, we can very, very, it's very likely that if we have more, let me start this over. The thing that we've said in the past, and I think we've even said it on stream, is it could be that we go into early access and we have 500 subscribers, and then it goes up to like 1,000, and then it goes down to 200, and it just stays there. That's possible. We could have 20,000 subscribers the first month, and it could drop down to 1,000. Right? Like, we could just have 2,000. Those scenarios exist, but the team needs to be prepared with such a niche game, with a game where we're doing, when we're doing, sorry, I just got distracted by a comment. I have to follow up on some comments. Sorry. But like, just always told the team, like, hey guys, when we started this, we thought we'd probably only have a couple thousand people like this game at the most. So if all of a sudden we start to see like, oh man, all of a sudden there's 10,000 or 20,000, and then they all start to churn back down to our original target of a few thousand, and they're like, oh, it's because we don't want corpse runs or whatever. Like, you got to be willing to go, do we start just changing the game and make a different game in order to, what's more important to us, the cash and the subs? And naturally, like, making it a business and blah, blah, blah. But like, what's more important to us? Like, trying to just figure out whether or not we can make this formula that we really like and have it work, or like panicking at the first sight of like, oh, potential greater success and starting to change things willy-nilly. And you know what I mean? Like, and we've just always been on the former rather than the latter. And I hope the team has taken that to heart, and I hope that you guys get it. Like, we're fine grinding after we go into early access and continuing to try to provide enough content and get the formula right, and that's that. So anyway, this is the 3 white Monster Energy drink. This is the most. This is a 3 Monster Energy drink rant if I've ever seen it. I'm here for it. I honestly, I've had 1 half calf coffee, and it's only 7:30, and I'm not super tired as shit. Cyanide, the art is amazing. Yeah, and I'm gonna scroll through this again in a minute. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Had the same kind of passion versus concern things about 27 years ago in EQ beta. I could see that. Booty Clamp says should just shut down Discord and Reddit. They're just for people to be dicks and make you feel bad. No, I don't. We have a very civil, both forums actually. There are a couple people, if you're watching this on Reddit, you know who you are. We've got a couple silly billies that I don't know. They show up in Reddit forever at this point, and they're just constantly downers. At some point, we may just get tired of hearing it, and I'll just be like, yeah, finally, let's just... Sorry, but you gotta go. But, like, it's just... For the most part, all of our forums are really good. People tend to be pretty cool. But I remember when Smed was like, let's shut down the EQ forums, because he's like, why? These are attached to our, like, main page. People come to learn about the game. They go here, and it's just 1,000 people shitting on us. Like, does that make good business sense? Yeah, there's definitely... Pixie Moon said, I don't like corpse runs, but I like so much of the games that I deal with them. And over time, there'll be better tools, and there'll be ways where, all right, maybe you just pay the Adventurers Guild after X amount of time, and then you can get your corpse back from them or whatever. There are things that we've always planned to put in to help mitigate some of the overall effect, but like the more in the moment, like the ability to like have that rogue pull your corpse, the ability to have a corpse summoned, the concern of like, hey, we're out here in the middle of nowhere and we don't, some of these other mechanisms aren't available to us, so we just can't screw up. Like, and I get that, like, people are like, oh, but that dissuades exploration. Yeah, well, danger, that's what makes some of the time when people do go explore stuff, that's what makes them badass, right? So it dissuades some exploration for sure. And in return, the people that do the exploration are cool. Zukin said, the Jim Carrey quote that I always come back to is, and I'm paraphrasing, you can fail no matter what, so you might as well fail doing something you love. Exactly. Auto P99 said, my favorite part is the latent capitalism shilling entitlement. Wait, you're making something you and your team want to make? But could you make more money selling out and doing this or that or whatever? And then why don't you sell out for me? We don't want you to sell out. We just want you to make the game the way I want it. AgonyBot said, I am listening as I work for a game developer myself right now and can relate a lot. Hey. I mean, yeah, I've worked for other companies my entire career. This is just a cool opportunity for us to do our own thing. Crescent said, I think the difference with the restaurant analogy is there are not 5,000 old school MMOs being created. It's like 3. That's why people get so passionate about wanting it to be exactly what they hope for. That's my theory. I think that's fair. But I also think there'll be more, right? And on the flip side, those same people will make the argument of like, there's so many other MMOs out there. Like I hear like there's so many MMOs that why would they play yours? And then on the flip side, I also hear like, but there's not enough, so don't screw this one up. It's an interesting sort of... let me scroll down really quickly. The Severo says, I know like 20 dudes here from Brazil that can't play because of the price in dollars for us. Without Steam, localization becomes a lot harder for people from South... America to play. I hope you guys consider Steam at some point. Or we maybe figure out how to, yeah, like tackle the regional pricing in a different way. That's something we'll work with Swanee on and see if there's a different, you know what I mean? Like years ago when I first got to Europe, we had a, one of the games I worked on had a lot of folks in Brazil, and I learned about like the interesting bank payment system that was there at the time or whatever. So we'll look into some of that. Shocked you haven't heard a Sean burping compilation medley from someone yet? Well, I'm not burping tonight because I haven't had dinner yet. The Severo said, amazing game, by the way. Hey, thank you so much. I always have to say I love so much love for Goblin's artwork. It's what pulled me in. It made me want to play when I first saw it. And then on top of that, game's amazing. And the dev team rules. Thanks, Doggeroni. I'm reading and I'm just scrolling through right now, just because I've got this feeling that I'm never going to get to the update if I... Reward doesn't hit as good without the risk. I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real phenomenon. I think we see that already. It was interesting, if you watch Cat with Opinions video, which is linked down here, I think that video may even mention scribing your spells at the bank and then putting your book in the bank immediately. Which if you don't have a bunch of spells that you're swapping between, probably isn't a bad idea. Like, you know, I think it's a fairly advanced move to be a wizard that's carrying their spell book with them everywhere. Fancy ass wizard. Gandalf mimed his spells at the inn. I don't remember him carrying a book, right? Like, it's the true high fantasy. John said, other companies, Sean? Not what I read on the internet. Yeah, that comment about the reason why the game is the way it is because the team's only ever worked on one game. The entire team, I guess, is from EQ or whatever. Yeah. I love when people tear us apart with facts and logic. Yawan. Is that, am I pronouncing that correctly? Yawan? Yawan? Juwan. Juwan, like, isn't that a Chinese ghost? Wasn't it the ring? No. Why does that sound so familiar? When I was in Taipei, years and years and years ago, I bought my ex all of the, like, the entire series of the Ring, like, manga style little graphic novels. But these days I can never watch that movie again. Zach said, really think it comes from a place of caring and their want for Eminem to be the best. Zach, I'm going to say, I think that is I think that's a very positive take. Because he said, they want it to be the best in their fear that something they are not a fan of will hurt the project. But we have to get the full design before we can really make that judgment. To me, that reads a little bit like, I agree with some of their points, and so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but you gotta, there are ways to express stuff. Like, if I really wanted a thing to be successful, I wouldn't say this design is shit and a nuisance, or this is just wasting my time with tedium, or this is lazy design, or these guys are just trying to make the game as tedious as possible. Or these guys think that making an old school game is just blatantly doing X but worse, right? Like, and those are the people I'm speaking to for the most part. I think there are, or it's inconvenience porn, right? And then when people push back a bit, then they go even harder, right? There are people that I think have expressed some of their opinions in very good ways, and some of them are in here, and they're people that I like, like like Crescent's in here has given feedback on different stuff, and like I take that shit seriously, and you know, I don't, you know, I don't want to overshare, but like I'll see comments sometimes from people where they're like, "Hey man, like I didn't have a good time in Discord," and people, like whatever. Like I follow up with people on DMs on, like I DM people. They don't just DM me, right? Like, and I understand that I do go off on rants sometimes, and I can be a bit derisive or I can be a bit rough. But it's, like I think it comes from a place of like, I don't want to bullshit people. I have a really hard time, like the way my brain works, I have a hard time with being dishonest. And like, I think it reflects, I took one of those personality tests, years ago, like when I first met Jasmine even. It was like I think it was like when Peterson had the personality test or whatever with like the big 5 or some shit. And I took it and I was shocked to find out, my agreeability was 0. Like, I didn't think it was, because I feel like I try to be a peacekeeper. I feel like sometimes I try to like smooth stuff over or like, hey, let's try this or whatever. Did I agree with that assessment though? No. I was like, what is this? What? But like, it's a thing where in my career, even when I was a newbie, like when I was in the army, I was a private just out of basic training. I got to my unit, and like within, I think the first week or two of being on my unit, we went to a leadership training course, right? Where it's like you have to go and all the squads are there and you have to like get this, 50 pounds ammo crate over these, like the water, and there's only a couple little stumps there, and then it's got to go over a big wall, and you can't touch anything that's red because that kills you. And then you've got like 2 2x4s, and you got to get everybody over the wall with the ammo crate, and you got to figure out the puzzle, and it's a bunch of these things and blah blah blah, and we're there for the day. And like I was a private, and I was just like, I was scared shitless. I was a newbie at my unit. I was scared, but I was still, I can't be like, if I think it's being done wrong, I'm like, Sergeant, that's not how it's going to work. Sergeant, that's not going to work. Sergeant, please stop. Right? To the point where after our squad or fire team wound up getting done with it, the NCOs, my platoon sergeant called me over because the sergeants all had to do it on their own. My platoon sergeant called me over and sent me over to observe the sergeants and tell them how to do it. Like, tell them, fix them, is what he said. And I was terrified because I'm a private in my unit. I went over and told them how to do the shit correctly, right? Like, it's always been that way. I've always just tried to be like, if I see something, and I'm not saying I'm always right by any means. And that's why we have teams, and that's why you empower your teams, and that's why you trust your teams. But like, I do have a challenge, like just seeing shit done wrong in my view. And again, that's over the years I've tried to learn how to temper, like, hey, don't die on every hill, and you're not always right, so like give it some time or whatever. But like, I just try to be straightforward with people. And so when I think people are bullshitting on the flip side, like I do call it out. And sometimes, and I know like, hey, are we supposed to do that as a company that wants to be a commercial product? Like, is that the best way to manage your community or whatever? I'm not a community manager. And I don't know that we'll ever have community managers. We want to have an honest relationship with our community, and you like it or you don't like it. I mean, that's that. So anyway, fucking early streams will be ranty streams, I guess. Black Rose said because it hasn't scrolled off the top yet. Oh, and Zach said, "True, that is my positive take," and I think it's a very positive take, and I appreciate that. Like, I'm not picking on that at all. Um, my SK banked a spellbook with IBU this past test specifically because I knew I was going to die and Worm 3 at some point. Came in handy once or twice. Yeah, and I mean, I even like the fantasy of a spellbook as an item. Like we've talked about. Speaking, Zillith is there. Like we were talking about, I put stats on a bag and it didn't work. But I was just like wanting to test it and then it was in and I forgot or whatever. I love the idea of like being able to put stats on everything and have everything kind of be as tangible as possible. And have interesting different books and stuff over time. I don't know if it will ever make sense because best in slot is always a thing, but it's like, wouldn't it be cool if within your apartment you've just got like all these different spell books and stuff, like and there may be certain solutions where like, maybe, and the team may like freak out. I'm just kind of saying stuff, but like, what if there was a soulbound, boundable spell book that's like, or soulbound, I guess is it. So a soulbound spell book that you could bring with you, but it's only got like 2 slots in it for like, or 4 slots or whatever. Like there's different things that we can screw around with. If from the basic starting point of spellbook is an item, right? So, a named spellbook where you can't take the spell out of it, but it's got a spell in it, and it's interesting. I don't know. It's just an interesting starting point. But the way it's read is all you want to do is kick spellcasters while they're down. Well, no. Did I take the personality test on Reddit? No. I actually paid for that damn personality test. But believe it or not, that's what that personality is what got me. I think I've had a decent career so far. I've enjoyed my career, and it's based on just my willingness to say shit, I guess. Wife wants to know if all banks are tethered or if they're separate between towns. Black Rose, they are separate between towns. Darius answered it right below there. I guess I didn't need to do that. Yuan said, I want chat bubbles. If we don't get chat bubbles, the game will die. Oh no. Oh no, Yuan. Oh no. But I saw you pop up in both Reddit and sorry, Juwan. Reddit and I think Discord, and were supportive and stuff, and I appreciate that. I mentioned your name to my wife. I had read a comment and I was like, "Hey, look at this person. I've never even heard of them before," and here they are with a really cool comment. So, and something like chat bubbles, something like. It's like you never know one of these days, but as a default, it's just the screen space is so sacred, and it makes such a it's just I don't know, it's a vibe. So scrolling through. Reading. UK Rads, we've talked about like being able to learn spells over time, lower level spells in sort of a cantrip type way and things like that in the past. I don't know if we'll ever do it, but it's feasible. Militus45 said, "Hi, newish member of the M&M community. Played for the last few playtests and loved it. And never got to play EQ, but played Vanilla WoW as the first MMO. And thank you for creating a game with old school tenets. Now a big supporter of M&M and will sub during EA to support the team." Hey, thank you very much. And thanks for bringing up like Vanilla WoW. I haven't mentioned Vanilla WoW enough in the various rants earlier tonight. Like there's a big influence, like again, I would say we've got a decent chunk of the team that are huge Vanilla WoW fans, and a couple people only ever played Vanilla WoW, right? Like we're pulling from multiple sources. And thanks for the follow. There should be some spells you can only give via found books in the world. Agreed. Found spells, found like scrolls. Can you transfer spells from one book to another? I don't think you can at the time, but we've talked about that in the past. And I skimmed over Zillith's thing. I missed it. Sometime soon, Zillith said leaving the book in your saddlebags will be an option, and that's 100% true. You can already, I think, make a box and leave it outside the dungeon and throw your book in there. All right, I'm gonna scroll all the way down. Still on my screen though is like have a Feign Death Tune hold some master spellbook in case of raid wipes or something, right? Like there's all sorts of oh, then that was a follow-on of Zukin's previous comment of spellbook as an item's really neat. Looking forward to when people start passing them around and shit. Also, like, because it's an item, like they can have over time cooler, different like drag icons, maybe even models and stuff like that. Gotta add a handheld book for the Inquisitor. Looks so cool in the artwork to not to have it. Absolutely. What if the book only had 8 slots and spells got locked in, but then you could mim the whole module in much quicker time? Oh, you mean like sort of loadouts for spell miming? Thoughts on floating combat text? I think the thing with floating combat text is that it provides there is that feedback, and that's something we've talked about. And I was just bringing this up again. It's like there's that connection of the action and something happening. I'd be curious to see what else we could do to get that without just putting the text on there. And I think there's some stuff, which is the combat log that we have, that could be done to make that more customizable and potentially, you know, like, can that text within that window even be more animated and be more visual? And then can you like alpha out the background, and can you move that to where maybe it's easier for you to see it and stuff? So there's just some things to look at before we just go straight, like, throw the text on the screen, I think. Dak said, yeah, when you eventually have your house with a backup set of gear, it should make corpse runs much easier. That is what I do in Valheim, is have a backup set if I die in the plains or in some other deadly location, need to recover my body. Yeah, for sure. Keebs said, hey Keebs, what's going on, buddy? It's been a while. Oh, Keebs said, I just started reading other shit. Heard you mention spellbooks and thought about a housing item for them, a lectern that lets you remember your spells faster. Another use to keep. That's actually a kind of cool idea. Does Nick or anyone on a team peruse the class section of Discord? I'm a nerd for class formulas and parsing typically, but wonder how much player input goes into that process. Nick reads it. I scan it when I can and kind of like ask Nick and Ollie stuff. I think Ollie reads it. Folks like John NS in here scans pretty much everything. We have like internal forums for our internal testers. We read the external forums as well. We've got the bug reports and feedback. It's a lot of data coming in, so it's we're bound to miss stuff here and there, but we're definitely trying. There are the burps. For VFX, for hit, miss, and crit would be a nice addition. I think so as well. Like, I think when a lot of people, and maybe I'm wrong, you like floating combat text folks, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think when a lot of people gravitate towards like FCT, it's for that the various feedback. It helps because like when I'm playing, like I think I mentioned as like just started I'm playing Turtle WoW. Not that I have any time, and I've only played like 2 sessions now, and I'm only at like level 10. But like just popping in again, I just remade the same character I made originally back in the day. So I just got a big floppy Tauren hunter. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, am I actually looking at the values that are popping up? I'm not looking to see if it was a 10 versus an 8 versus a 15 or whatever. I'm just getting that sort of like subconscious feedback of it happened, it didn't happen, right? Like that with their like their little spark, whatever it's called. Goblins mentioned this in the past. Like, you know, that stuff all provides a little like, okay, it connected. Oh, it was a crit. Floating combat text preference for me comes from not wanting to take my eyes off center screen. Yeah, so I think but I do think there's things either way that we can do to make the combat log a lot more readable and a lot more helpful and a lot more customizable. Right? And so, and yeah, visual with spell crits, just things like that are when I've pushed back on some stuff in the past, keep in mind that I'm not pushing back on it because it's like a religious argument or it's a binary like no, even if it comes off as like a no. There's stuff like targeting the targeting ring. The main thing, like from my end, that I'm pushing back on is, what is that supposed to do? Can we do something that is better? Because I see so many shitty applications of like ugly targeting rings, or ugly indicators, or ugly text, or ugly. And it's like, and to me, that's actually that can be the thing where it's like, man, wouldn't it potentially have been cooler if we looked at that as we look at that as that's the solution. What is the problem? What other solutions could we potentially come up with that may move us a little bit further forward in providing a more eloquent or a better solution? Right? Like, you know, something that's prettier, something that's more engaging, something that's more immersive, something that's less intrusive, something that looks less janky. I mean, when you got a targeting, you know, circle on the bottom of a NPC and they're standing on a plane and it's shooting off the plane or it's bent in half or whatever, it's like, I don't know, is that the most pleasing immersive thing that we could do? Could we have done something a little bit better with the name? Could we do something, you know what I mean? It's like, and even stuff like suggested, people have talked about in the past, and Goblin actually mocked this up, is like, what about little dots that are bouncing if people are typing? And I was like, but then there's dots everywhere. But if you were to have that only be if that person's name is, if it's a whisper to that person or a tell to that person, or to you, sorry, or you are targeted by that person while they're typing, then you see it. Well, then it's not everybody getting it. Now it's a better indicator that this is, hey, that person's actually about to say something to me. So it's like, sometimes it's just a little difference there. Just Moses, thank you for the follow. So, and then over time, I mean, we can be a little flaky and just go, hey, you've got 5 different options. You know, like, let me loop the music. I like what we're doing with being able to just middle mouse over the elements and have them change, right? I like the customization that Encrypt's been getting in there. So I think having, you know, having some more options for people over time, there's nothing wrong with that as well. So many nice UI updates lately. Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, you guys are all saying a lot of good stuff, but I'm also not going to be streaming all night, and I wanted to run through the update really quickly with you. So I'm going to run through this because I've been distracted from it for an hour. And then let's see, Zara Smash, first time chat, so I'm definitely going to check that out. Said I like audio feedback for many things like that as well. For example, a spell fizzles or is resisted. Invis is about to fade, etc. Yeah, that's a very good point. And Robert, I mean, Robert has put so much effort in since he got on the project of just like learning WYs, and just he goes the extra mile with a lot of these things, and I can just imagine over time he's just going to keep layering in more and more feedback and more of this stuff. So be sure to always like keep putting those ideas out there. All right, so let's check this out real quick. The update's here. I'll link it again. Those of you on the mailing list, will get this out to you soon. Again, just a quick hello, telling you that we're having a playtest at the end of the month. June playtest overview. Like I said, we're going to parse this data a couple more times and just make sure it's all correct, and then we'll do a mini update with more details on this. Oh, it's the temple ambience. It's very quiet in the background. Let me... Pyramid ambience. Dungeon ambience. Something completely different. Go back. Loop playlist. Are we good? Cool. All right. So, yeah, with the data that we pulled, and again, we're going to double check all of this again. 5,592 unique accounts played over the course of the 3.5 days. The playtest went like 3.5 days instead of 3 because we had a PvP streamer show up on Sunday or something, one of the days, and somebody was DDoSing, but basically they're after him and like, hit us with a little DDoS, and Ollie was able to learn a bit from that and do some stuff to mitigate it or whatever, but it did impact some folks. So I think that was the reason why we extended the test. I think I was traveling at the time. We maxed out at 1,274 concurrent players, but I think we had like over 1,000 concurrents each night, so that was nice to see. 8.2 hours average per account. That's what it came out to. So that's a lot of playing that happened throughout the weekend. There were some people that were playing like 12, 14-hour sessions or whatever. So that's an insane average. So I still don't know how that happened, but hey. 500 plus players in Night Harbor without a ton of problems. Like, we had some crashes here and there. We know that, so we had a crash that was going on Rel in Night Harbor. And what it sounds like there was data. There's something, I think it was like the NPC stats stack, the way that we handle stat manipulation on NPCs from like buffs and this and that. Every NPC like had that stack, and that stack was not being removed from memory. And so there's so many NPCs being killed on Rel and Night Harbor that was just like building up hundreds of thousands of these things in memory, and then eventually it would crash the zone. So I think that's roughly my layman explanation of what happened there. So we found it, easy fix, right? So it's I've got to say, the tech guys have been fantastic in like just getting, just finding so much of this stuff, and you know, over the last year and a half, especially in like the optimizations, and you know, the guys are always diligently working to find little performance improvements, and you know, big shout out to Zillith on a lot of stuff, and Ollie and the rest of the guys. So concept art. So we're working on the underdocs for module 1. There's some stuff going on for a zone that you guys have never been shown. Up until now, you get some glimpses, but we haven't really talked about it. It's going to be part of the expedition zone. Somebody earlier asked about expeditions. I didn't provide an answer. I'm sorry. We've talked about it in the past, but it may be hard to find in the VODs. So maybe in a future stream, ask or dig around in search in Discord. Yeah, if you come in here on a different day, I'll try my best to explain it. But just think like something where you have to invest a bit with your guild or guilds or other players to kind of prepare for and then go. It's kind of like raid, but not a raid. It's kind of like, what if we went to hang out and, you know, play in a fear for a while and camp and farm, or, you know, while also there being expedition dungeons and stuff. So anyways, it's high-end content. that requires you to do some upfront investment. You know, higher risk, higher reward. So here are some concepts for the underdocks. This is under Night Harbor and connects Night Harbor. It wouldn't be time locked as much as it's just something where you have to prepare and then you can go there. And I mean, you can make it kind of your regular place if you're powerful enough. And, you know, the spawns will be slower for certain things like named or whatever. Kind of more world bossy in aspects. So it's something will just be, it won't be Lost Dungeons though. It's not instanced. It's more of a, it's like the rest of our content, but hey, an example would be, you have to pay a captain to take the ship all the way out to this place, and you have to basically, you can't bring the like all of the earnings and stuff back except for on the ship, and then it may be time restricted, or you have to keep paying to keep the ship. Like there's just some stuff concepts we're playing with out there, but it's like it is end-to-end game content, so we've got time. In the meantime, we're getting the art built. So, and this is Underdocks. It'll be under Night Harbor. It connects Night Harbor. It's their deep trade area to Caves of Aram, to the Great Cavern Sea, to the Deep Elf City. Monsters attack the ship and stuff. Yeah, things like that. And there may be, you know, and this may be a set of caravans you take out way out into a wilderness. It may be something, you know, where you're taking like a, you know, snow like ship, sled or something that goes way out into the vast sort of frozen lands, or a sand skiff out into this specific desert. You know, and it's just, we're playing with certain mechanics and ideas, mostly on paper, but we'll get it in. So some cool concept. This was the stuff I was talking about. You guys were asking about Deep Elves. Zach has been getting these guys in, and so you've got the concepts here, but then you'll see, I think if you watch his streams, you're seeing it all come together, and then there's been some prep work started on the you-know-whos. We've talked about what should a basilisk look like. We've got some new drag icons. You can see some of the stuff that's been going on with UI customization. And not to gloss over this stuff, just you guys can check it out at your leisure. We've got UI customization coming online pretty quickly. Yeah, like the little pop outs, the collapsible sort of elements, you know, some of the new tabs coming on. And so again, this is kind of like what we've talked about with regards to like, should it just be floating combat text? Let's play around with some different solutions and see if we can make it so that you can customize your stuff to work the way you want. Just give us time on this. Is the lizard is a basilisk? Is that a lizard version of a mandrake? Only if it was like made out of roots, but it's not. Hey, Coben. Can we get the numbers of hit points and mana just on the UI? I think that's just keep putting the requests out there and we'll see where we land. Scaling, window scaling. And I think that's kind of applied. You'll read in the text section, it's being applied, you know, to the various elements and stuff. So it's coming together. Great job, Encrypt. New armor going in, the treants, trance, whatever you guys. I say it wrong apparently, but feel free to tell me on Reddit. Trent, it's the Trents. Trent Reznor here. EA will be level 60 when we go live. Trent rhymes with bent, I thought. Okay, so it's a Trent. I think it's a Treant. Treant? Anyways, here he is. Donkey's in. These guys are still being animated. You'll see some animations in a minute. Sharks. Treant? I've always said Treant. Treant. Okay. Lucklin. And here you see you see the work that Zach's been doing directly. Like, so you see the actual model and the actual painting on the model. Sharks are scary. So Deep Elves going in. Looking mean. We've got to we've got to get like a very sort of like wry, smirky, beautiful face in as well, just so that just so that I can look and think that maybe I really could fix her. Animations going in. Continued Wood Elf animations. And sorry, undies look uncomfy, but also cool and evil. They're a bit thin, huh? Sorry, I don't mean to gloss over anything at this point. I'm just like, I was looking at the time and I was like, oh shit. But again, all of this is here for you to peruse at your leisure. But yeah, Ratman animations continuing to go in. Yeah, the Ratman are great. The Myconids are going in. Some fun animations there. Also, more giant animations. The death. Yeah. That's like me going to bed if Jasmine's not already asleep and I'm not trying to disturb her. Yeah, giants, for whatever reason, giant swimming like really appealed to me as well. I saw it. And the giant skeletons are using these as well. We were doing something, maybe it was a stream a while back, and the giant skeleton was swimming and the glowing eyes just came out of the water. I mean, I was like, it was definitely a scary moment. I love that taunt. It's powerful. The player race specific skeletons. So those are the dwarf skeleton kills you. The beard's great. I love the little spikes on his on the goblin's head. Look at this big boy. It's so cuddleable. All right. Environment. He's fringe shaped. Perez, that is that is the best way of saying it. He is fringe shaped. Sorry, I was just checking Slack real quick to make sure. Sometimes, especially when I go on like ranty rants early in the stream, I forget and I'll look at like Slack and I'll be like, oh gosh. Hopefully I didn't say anything crazy. And get a message from the team like, dude, gotta shut it down. Frank Anita, thank you for the follow. Jesmosis, did I say thank you for the follow like 12 minutes ago? Probably didn't. Apologies if not. All right, so continued work, and this is a big project. You know what? bless Bill for like taking on such a big project and like continuing to like just work through it and get it together. But he's been just like assembling pieces and building things out so that it's going to be easier for him to continue to like build out Fail and Draw. I think it's going to be a fantastic city. So we got the elevator prop in, like the kind of gondola up and down prop in, mostly working, but that's not a him thing. That's more of a how we handle elevators and sort of like statics in game. Starting to get some model home style like areas, doing some scale adjustments to make it feel right for the wood elves, to just make sure that it's you know, feels like it's theirs. So that's great. Yeah, we have a couple of sneak peek screenshots of a dungeon that'll be coming in Module 1. So this is part of the first big update after we go into early access. A place called Rothold. It used to be called Roothold, but now it is the ruins of Roothold. The zone that we've been working on together. If you guys in chats have missed it, you could check out like the VODs. I've been trying to post the VODs of us working on this together on stream. Oh wait, that's only if you haven't been on stream. Yeah. Anyways, if you're new here and you've missed it and you haven't been watching the VODs, you can see how we've worked together to make this zone. Continue to do like painting and texture work in Night Harbor. You can see it's coming together more and more and more. So, you know, just getting all blended in and textured up and stuff. So it's coming along. It's come a long way. It's a big project. And the reality is we'll be... Oh, the collision for the stairs, because you got stuck. Did you get stuck? Can I get in? Yeah, people were getting stuck everywhere. I don't think that was a geo problem. I think that was a tech problem. We made an adjustment. I think Zillith made an adjustment or something right after the playtest, and we stopped getting stuck on stuff. I was getting stuck on random stuff everywhere, not just in here. And like our #1 petition for the weekend was like, I'm stuck. And it was like people just hitting the first step and getting stuck. So that shouldn't be the case in the upcoming playtest. Knock on wood. We'll see. We'll see. But I think that's been mostly resolved now. So curious about what tech problem that would be. Yeah, as I said, I'm curious as well. I don't know if Zillith is still out there. Or if one of the tech guys is out there that could explain it. But yeah, there were people that are just like stuck on the first step of stuff, and it's just like sticky pixels were turned on. Yeah, we accidentally clicked sticky pixel. Could be a nav mesh thing. Maybe, but again, it's like then it would have been that the nav meshes got baked out differently for every zone, and then is the nav? I thought the nav mesh was primarily for the AI versus us, but I don't know. Yeah, but we addressed it. I think it's solved. Sewers zone. There's like a whole sewers area within Night Harbor. That'll continue to be worked on. And eventually that'll be connecting like some different points, so you can go through the sewers and pop up in different places in the city. There's different sub themes within the sewer, and then also that'll be a way in and out of underdocks. Not the main way, but a way. If you've been watching Chinny's stream, you'll also see that there's a main way through the bins, which is cool. Been doing some work like playing with water, so I think I mentioned this before. We've got like green plaguey water, post-processing volumes. So work's been done with the facade and other stuff, and Keeper's Bite. Some work's being done in ancient crypt, glass flats. We'll just skim over this real quick. I'm not even going to mention too much about it, but it's a zone that we haven't talked about, and one day you'll find out more about. And it's a super cool zone. You will not believe it when you see it. It's pretty insane. It's so fun. that you haven't seen it. But here's a little hint. There's some clues. There are clues in this update. Audio updates. And this is just a really cool video that Robert has put together, going through sounds and stuff. The new song that's been playing in the background. Fantasy Night ambience, 8 hours. So, and then a big list of just stuff that he's been doing. Like he's going on tour and he's doing a ton of like work. So very long design update with a lot of different little changes so that you can kind of know what to expect. Excuse me, going into the next playtest. And, you know, broken up by class and everything else. Tech, also a very long tech breakdown of everything that's been going on in tech, including the breakdown of bigger features, some of which we've shown on stream now, right? Like mounts having dedicated set of equipment, including rigging slot that changes what type of containers and stuff it can use, and you know, when killed, equipment can be lifted off the mount, and there's just the UI stuff broke down. So yeah, all of that, and then this added this video on here. Really great if you are bringing people to play the game for the first time and they've never played it before. Here, I'm gonna hit this.
So if you're here,
we're gonna go here. We're gonna grab that. Oh, it doesn't need the 1 second, I think.
the game has a quick start guide, which I highly recommend.
1 sec. Hit pause. I'll post this here. I think that'll get you there. Click it. Yeah, okay. And so then that is the link to the video for a cat's newbie intro video.
I assume you already have a basic idea of
And
memories
yeah,
is.
it's a good one. There we go. All right. What video were you referencing at the beginning about stream of WoW players swapping to old school RuneScape? I posted that in Discord recently. I don't know if anybody's got the link. I might be able to find it really quick in random. Was it random or inspiration? Ah, here it is, a random copy link. Cool. Thanks guys for finding that. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the update. Definitely check it out. It is 8:30 now my time. If is anybody from the team streaming right now or about to stream? I think it may still be early for the guys, to be honest. So with that in mind, and if someone pops up in a second and says they're streaming, then we'll rate them. But if not, then let's say good night for now, and I'll be back on Wednesday. It's kind of a weird schedule, right? Like it's just kind of one after another like that, and it's in the middle of the week and then a big gap. So we'll see if this works out. But it works with Jasmine's schedule for now. So I'm gonna hop off and eat dinner. Now that the cake has settled. I think that's why I was so energetic. It was coffee and a bunch of sugar and carbs before the stream. So next stream won't be so crazy. Good night, Rook. You shoes. Agnosis. You're very welcome. Hey, thanks. Daroni. Sna. Appreciate it. Viro. Take care. See you Wednesday, Quicksana. Later, Rev Chumley, Chaz Solo, Gunnervolf, Pixie, Thadvik, Lon Gila. Hey, Robert's been lurking. See you in Slack, John. Black Rose, you're very welcome. I appreciate that. Getting distracted. See ya. See ya, Bill. I hope you can play next playtest as well, Justin Beard. See ya, Meeks, Megabytes, Dakota, UK Rads, Classic EverQuest. See ya. Yeah, glad you were able to come in live as well. And I'll try to get these VODs up ASAP. SSA, Blue Knight, you have a good one as well. Later, Fuller. You're very welcome, Rook. Good night, Dozakar. I'm gonna try one more time. Let me know if it's right. Was it Juwan? See you. Hoops, take care. See you in Slack, Encrypt. Good night, Talet. Close enough. Oh, I want to get it right though. Don't make me scroll all the way up. One more time, phonetically. Sneers. Antref, see ya. What's it? Oh, I want to see it. I'll ask every single time though, probably. Antref, you're very welcome. Thanks for checking it out. Queech, good night. Jiggly Butt Butt. One of my favorite names. Take care. The next playtest is at the end of the month, the 23rd? 23rd through the 27th? All right, now I'm going to scroll up because you didn't say it, Juwan. I've got to scroll all the way up and find where you gave me the phonetics of your name. If it's still, oh, they limit how far I can scroll. Damn you, Twitch. All right. I'm just going to ask again next time you're in here. All right. Well, then that is tonight's stream. I'm going to go eat some leftover spaghetti. Yeah, and then I will see you guys. I'm sitting here, I'm stalling. I'm just trying to see if I'm going to get the phonetic spelling of this name. All right. All right. That's it then. I'm going to click the button. Still holding out. They probably left. All right. See you guys. I'm clicking the button. I will see you I'll see you on Wednesday. Maybe we'll do some work maybe. What is that? Is the name there? No. Okay. See you, Dragon. See you, Doggeroni. Bye-bye, guys.